Hello, I'm Daryl Rosenthal from the Social Security Administration, and you're watching Tampa Bay Community Network.
Hi, I'm Bill Hodges, and this is Spotlight on Government. Today, we have Daryl Rosenthal with us from the Social Security Administration. Boy, I'm glad you're here because there's lots of questions I have for you, and I'm absolutely sure my audience has lots of questions for you. My first question is Social Security going to be there when some of these folks get old? I'm already there, so.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on your show, Bill. Social Security's been around 81 years. So it shouldn't be going anywhere.
I have full faith and confidence, but I think we need to reiterate constantly that it's a well-funded, the program is doing fine, many people are being helped by it, and it's something good and not to worry, right?
That's correct. A lot of people don't realize that it's actually today's workers, that's where the money comes from to pay today's beneficiaries. So it's a pay-as-you-go system, and the money is there. And like I said, after 81 years, I think we can feel pretty safe that it's ingrained into our nation's fabric.
I think if we look at most households of retirees, if you deducted that Social Security payment out of what they had, things would be a lot darker, wouldn't they?
They'd be a lot darker. Actually, over half of our seniors would be under poverty without Social Security.
Ouch.
So it's really important.
Well, what should we do? There's some of us, I'm already on Social Security. I already have Medicare. So maybe I'm pretty well a lost cause. Things are going along, and I'm glad it's there. But what about if I'm 20 years old and somebody's starting to pull this stuff out of my paycheck and I say, Social Security, why am I paying this?
Okay, that's a great question. First of all, most young people, they're only going to know about Social Security because their parent or grandparent receives it. But what they should know is, out of their taxes, they're paying into a fund that will let them be eligible for disability. If anything should happen to them, if they would die, there's going to be money from their Social Security that can pay survivors' benefits. And just a couple of statistics that really almost rather not share, but people need to know about it, especially young people. If you're 20 years old today, 1 out of 4 of today's 20-year-olds is going to become disabled before
1 out of 4?
1 out of 4.
Wow.
Before they reach their full retirement age. So what's there for them? What can they do? Well, luckily because of this program and them paying Social Security taxes, if anything was to happen to them, if they were 35 years old, let's say, they could qualify for disability. And 1 out of 8, unfortunately, won't make it to 67. So if they died, if they were married and had a small child, there would be money left for their survivors. So it's really important because most people don't have private disability policies.
No, and companies aren't providing them anymore either.
Right, so Social Security is there for that, and then most people, especially young people, most of them don't have life insurance policies. So Social Security helps out there too. So it's not just for our seniors, it's for a lot of our population.
I wonder how many of you out there right now, if I said Social Security, are thinking retirement. That's what it is, a retirement fund. And how many of you realize what Daryl just said about it being not only a retirement, but also a disability policy that you have your whole lifetime?
That's correct. That's right.
And if you're married, then if something happens to you, God love it, they don't, but you're saying now 1 in how many, 8 won't make it?
Yeah, 1 out of 8 won't make it to full retirement age.
Which is a good chance that they will at that point still have children at home possibly, right, and a wife.
Yeah, I mean, if they were relatively young, that could be the case. So at least that gives them some security, knowing that if they're not able to buy other insurances, at least Social Security could help them quite a bit.
And there is
actually.
a death benefit that goes along with it also. Is that correct?
Well, there's the survivor's benefits or the monthly benefit.
Okay.
There's a
Isn't there a lump
there's
sum
what's
death
called a, what's
benefit
called a
of some
lump
kind
sum
of?
death benefit, but it's
Not a big one.
That's $255.
$255.
So really, but it's the survivor's benefit.
That'll
the
pay
monthly
for the
benefit.
ambulance.
Yeah.
Maybe. Let's go back again. Let's start at the beginning. I'm 16 years old, 17-year-old, 18, even 20. And I start getting paychecks with this Social Security on them. What should I know at that point that would make, when I reach 67 or whatever age it is I can retire, better for me?
Okay, well, what Social Security offers is what's called a My Social Security account.
Okay?
And our website, ssa.gov, has this right on the first page.
SocialSecurity.gov?
Right.
Okay.
But you can use the abbreviation when you're
Okay.
typing, ssa.gov.
Okay.
And right on the first page of the website, you can find My Social Security account.
Okay.
And then My Social Security, create an account. And when people create this account, and they
Okay.
should when they're real young, what it does is it shows them how much they've made every year, as well as the estimate.
Really? Could I go back now and put it in? Would it go
It's for
back?
people that aren't receiving benefits yet.
Oh, okay. But if you're already, it's too late to go
Right,
back.
right.
I'd kind of like to see what I made on some of those years.
But for the key and the importance of it is, we have people that wait till they're in their 60s. They've never looked at their earnings history before. And then we ask them, we say, Mr. Jones, 30 years ago we're showing 0. And all the other years you earned something. Is this correct? And the person might not even remember where they worked, for one thing.
True,
And then
30 years ago.
And then if they do remember, if it's a small business or if it was a small business, it might not be around anymore. So if the person doesn't have their W-2 form and the company's not around, we might not be able to correct an error.
Or that company didn't pay the Social Security taxes they were supposed to pay before they went out of business.
That's possible.
So you might end up having paid the Social Security for that period, but you can't prove it. And it'd be better if you checked it every year to see that your employer was in fact putting that money in there, correct?
That's correct. I mean, more often it could just be some kind of accounting mistake.
Sure, but we have a lot of companies go under.
Right.
And I know the government isn't quick to forgive taxes collected.
Right.
But if you can't get blood from a stone, if there's no money left, what happens then? I guess there is probably a procedure for that.
Well, what we sometimes can do, if somebody, let's say, worked for a place for 8 years and the company goes out of business, and let's say the 4th or 5th year shows a 0, I mean, we can average. We can give them credit.
Okay, so you can assume that since they were there.
You're right.
But if I only worked there 1 year, there's no record of it, and I wait 30 years, there's no way to go back.
That could be a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if I came to you this year and said, hey, wait a minute, I paid Social Security all this last year, and I didn't get any credit, you've got a better chance of going back and getting it for me.
Exactly. With this estimate and the earnings history, people, once they open that account, if they wait to the middle of next year when all the earnings are posted to IRS and then to Social Security, if they see that, wait a second, last year's earnings are showing the wrong figure or 0,
Right.
well, then they should call us or call their company and get a W-2 form if they don't have it, and then just bring it to Social Security and we'll get it corrected, as opposed to waiting, many years
So
before
it's
they
a
find
very
out about it.
important thing, setting up one of these accounts. What else can you learn by setting up one of those accounts?
Okay, well, you learn if you're not getting benefits yet, you'll get the estimate, you'll see how much you've paid in every year, but you also get an estimate not just for your retirement. It'll show a survivor's estimate, disability estimate.
Oh, really?
And it'll show retirement at different times. 62, it'll tell you when your full retirement age is and give you the estimate for that. And it'll also give you an estimate at 70, because that's when your benefit stops going up.
So if I'm married and God forbid I get ill and I begin worrying about what my family might have, I can go in there, it'll give me estimates on what survivors would get if something happened to me?
That's correct. Yeah. So it's a planning tool. It's a customer service and planning tool. And the good thing about it is the paper estimates, which we mail out, if you're under 60, they only go out every 5 years now. And even before, they would only go out once a year.
That's killing my son-in-law, by the way. He was the one that programmed that at the high-speed printer, send those out.
That's amazing.
Cut their business.
At any rate, they can pull this up anytime they want. Because let's face it, when people, if they're not right there yet, they might be talking about their finances one day, and they don't have this in front of them. And then, or I should say, when they've had a chance to look at it, maybe they didn't memorize it, didn't write it down. And then later on, when they want it again, at that time, with this electronic account, they can pull it up anytime they want.
I think once you get into your 50s or so especially, not that it isn't valuable all the way up to then, but if you're working with an investment counselor or something of that nature and you have a need for X dollars, the investment counselor would find that information very valuable also.
Definitely. Yes. I have found that the firms that do personal finance, they're recommending their clients get it because it helps them too.
Sure. So they know that he's going to get $2,500 a month or $500 or $300. I thought it was interesting that if you were married, got a divorce, the divorced spouse could file and get a benefit.
That's right. I mean,
and it doesn't take anything away from your benefit.
that is true. And you could have situations where Joe Smith was married to Mary, and then they got divorced, and then now Joe is married to Jane. Both Mary and Jane can qualify on his record.
Oh, both Mary and Jane can.
Potentially, if they meet all the rules.
Wow, if we go into multiple marriages, we could break up the system, couldn't we?
And they're independent of each other.
That is something interesting that I found out personally and made sure that my ex-wife got the benefit early because she was a year older than I was and still a very friendly, wonderful person. And it's something a lot of people just don't know, and they would help somebody else out with.
Right, and I think people need to know how to qualify in the first place, because one key rule with the Social Security and spouses benefits is the benefit pays up to 1/2 of what the other spouse could get at full retirement age. So in other words, let's say one person can
Now
get
this is in the situation where there was a death, or is it divorce?
This is well, I'm not even talking about divorce yet.
Okay, just the death.
Because
Okay.
they need to know what
Okay.
a living situation
Okay.
with a couple.
Okay.
You get a couple, and one spouse might assume they're going to draw benefits on the other one's record because the first spouse has always had a better work history.
Okay.
But the way Social Security works, it's weighed in such a way that it helps lower wage earners. So you might not automatically have a benefit that's twice as much as your spouse's. So just as a for instance.
So you may want to apply for it under your own rather than under your spouse.
Well, the way it works, there's actually not even a choice if you're currently married.
Oh.
You apply on your own first.
Okay.
And then if you can qualify for more as a spouse, you'll get it. So we compare the two.
Oh,
Let's say
okay.
one person can get $2,000 on their own
Okay.
at full retirement age, even if they filed early. We look at the full retirement amount.
Mm-hmm.
And let's say the other person can get $1,200. So if one can get $2,000 and the other one can get $1,200, the $1,200 is already more than 1/2.
Sure, yeah.
So they would only get it on their own record.
Okay.
But let's say the second person could only get $800 on their own versus the other person getting $2,000. So we look at half of the greater one, that's $1,000. So one person would be getting, the lesser would get $800 on their own.
Right.
Plus $200 more potentially as a spouse.
All right.
And it's the same thing if they were divorced.
Is everybody paying attention?
Same thing if they were divorced. We compare the two benefit amounts. So if let's say the greater one, same thing, gets $2,000 and the divorced spouse can get $1,200, then the divorced spouse would not apply on that record. But if their benefit was less than $1,000, they could. And if they didn't work at all,
Yeah.
they could still qualify.
Gee, that's pretty nice. You know, there's a lot of benefits to Social Security that we just don't hear about. Maybe something I was talking to one of my other guests about, you don't need to want to know something until you need to know it. And I think that's a lot of this. This information is all out there, but unless I need to know it, I don't want to know it right now. There's other things for me to know. And this is important information though. Financial data is one of the most important things in our lifetime as we grow older and we start looking at paying bills and knowing you're not working for a company anymore, you're not going to get raises. I think the raise of Social Security this time is like pennies.
Yeah.
So you have to be careful. You have to know how to make it work for you.
That's right. It's not 1%, it's 0.3.
0.3,
yeah.
Which is pretty small when you look at it.
It is.
It won't pay for the difference in Medicare probably. But the important thing here is start early, plan early, correct?
Yes, they should plan early and they should also know, while today's show is about Social Security, it's like you mentioned, it's a financial thing. It's part of planning your financial future. So why wait till you're 62 or older to find out what you're going to get in Social Security? That's part of your retirement.
Let's, if you don't mind, can we look at qualifying for Social Security in several different ways that one qualifies, and what is a qualification? Most of us have heard that you have to have 40 quarters, which is 10 years, but I'm not at all clear on what's a quarter. If I get one paycheck in that quarter for $200, and I get one in each of the 4 quarters of the year, does that give me my 4 quarters? Or is there something, do I have to make a certain amount? Or what gives me a quarter?
Okay. When we work and we pay our Social Security taxes, we're earning what you're calling quarters. We refer to as credits, but it's the same thing, credits and quarters. There's up to 4 credits in a year.
Okay.
In this year,
no matter how much you pay in a year, you only get up to 4 credits,
and that's correct. This year it's $1,260 is 1 credit. So if you make $1,260 working somewhere
for the whole year,
yes, it doesn't matter
you get
what
1
month,
credit.
That's 1 credit. So 4 times that is 5,040.
Okay.
It doesn't matter if it's been earned in January or it took 10 months to earn it.
So I can make that in any month of the year as long as it totals up to 540, did you say?
5,040.
$5,040.
So
that gives me my 4 credits for that time period.
Right. So if you need 40, you need 10 years of work like that. So it doesn't take a lot. If somebody's been working
even part-time,
making $6,000 a year,
to qualify for minimum benefits,
they're going to qualify, and that should be realized.
Yeah.
Because this year you pay Social Security taxes on the earnings up to $118,500. So people who have those kinds of earnings, they're going to get the higher benefit. If somebody's been making $6,000 a year, they'll qualify.
But no more quarters or points in a year's time. 4 is the max.
Right. It doesn't matter if you make $6,000 or $100,000, you're still going to get 4 credits.
Okay. So that's the minimum gateway to get into the program per year is that $5,040.
That's right.
Okay.
And this is for retirement benefits.
For retirement benefits.
Right.
Now, what if someone works 5 years, takes a couple years off, comes back? Once you've banked a year or the 4 quarters, that's in the bank for you, correct?
And that is correct.
If there's any spaces between, they're just spaces.
That's right. And I just want to add, because we've been talking about retirement benefits as well as the spouses, but retirement is what we're talking about now, because the rules are different with disability.
Okay.
But with retirement benefits, yes, it doesn't matter when you've earned your 40 quarters. It could be, you could have worked between 18 and 28, and you've made enough, you have the 40 credits, and sit on your sofa for the next 40 years, you still qualify for Social Security.
Still qualify.
Yes.
Okay, that's kind of important. And there's no way to build more credits than the $5,040 is going to buy you. So what I'm thinking is, if somebody doesn't go into the labor force, and this happens quite often with some maybe people who get divorced and one hasn't worked. Now all of a sudden they find they want to get into the labor force. They're 60 years old or 65 years old. No matter how much money they earn in a particular year, they can't get more than those 40 quarters or those 4 points.
And you're right. And that does happen. We've seen that with people that get divorced, and one spouse might have to keep on working to a later age where they'll eventually get the 10 years paid in.
I'm thinking also of people who come into the country where there's quite a hubbub now about people being brought into the country and put into the labor force. If they come in and they're older, it will be difficult for them to get their 10 years of Social Security.
And that's right. First of all, they have to be a legal resident. So whether they're a legal resident or become a citizen, they're going to have to work those 10 years. So if somebody,
so you got to have a green card.
Right.
Okay.
So if they come in when they're 65, yeah, they're going to have to work and earn their credits in order to qualify.
And there's no way to cut that short. And if you are working, I guess if I'm working at 65, I'd start out fresh. I'm going to work at 65 or 67 or whatever. Can I qualify if I think there's a term called currently insured, correct?
That's okay.
That's for disability.
Well, that's actually
correct?
for a survivor situation.
Okay.
But
what happens if I reach whatever age now that Medicare kicks in? 62, 65, whatever. I'm not sure what year it kicks in now. But if I'm currently still working, but I don't have 40 quarters yet, can I still get Medicare?
Okay, well, with Medicare, it's 65. And first of all, let's start with if you do pay enough in, you're going to qualify.
Okay, yeah.
If you have 30 credits, you'll end up qualifying for what's called a lesser premium. Most people these days qualify for the Part A because you either get it on your own record. If you've worked enough to qualify for Social Security on your own record, you qualify for Medicare
Okay.
Part A. If you qualify as a spouse for Social Security benefits, you'll qualify for Medicare. And if you qualify as a survivor, you'll qualify. So it's only those people that haven't worked enough and they can't file on anyone else's record.
Right, okay.
They're the ones who aren't going to qualify for the Part
Okay.
A. Part B, anyone can pay for at the right age.
That's
when
the
you're
hospital
65.
portion,
That's
correct?
the doctor's portion.
That's the doctor. The other's the hospital portion.
Yeah.
I get confused.
When I was
then. I go to
talking-
the VA.
Okay. When I was talking about qualifying on a spouse's record or your own, that's Part A. That's the hospital insurance.
Oh.
Okay, so most people don't have to pay a premium for Part A because of what I was saying. They get it on their own record or they qualify as a spouse or a survivor.
Oh, I didn't know that.
But it's the Part B that's the choice.
Oh.
And then there's also Part D, to make sure everyone understands, which is the prescription drug part.
Okay.
And that part you actually get from the insurance companies.
So
And-
going back to the question, if I don't have enough quarters, let's say I've got 10 quarters in, and I'm 65, I'm still working. Can I now qualify for any kind of medical insurance?
Well, you're going to qualify for the Part B, the doctor's portion.
I can buy that.
You can buy that.
Okay.
The other part you can buy, but it's very expensive.
Okay.
So most people aren't going to buy that. I mean, if this person you're describing hasn't worked enough, then they might qualify for Social Security's needs-based benefit called supplemental security income, which is a whole other topic.
Okay.
But if they qualify for that, the state might give them Medicaid. Medicaid is the needs-based insurance.
Daryl, I promise you I'd give you a minute or two to talk directly to the folks out there at home. And I'm sure I'm not asking you every question that you want to get information out. So what would you like to tell the folks out there about your programs? And we'll go from there.
Okay. First of all, take advantage of our website, ssa.gov. It has retirement planners. It has frequently asked questions. You can find information on all of our topics: retirement, disability, survivors, spouses. So that would be number one. Then open up a My Social Security account. We talked about what it does before you get benefits. It's also for customer service. You can do a change of address online, get a benefit verification letter. So you can do so much with that. And then also, I wanted to point out, because we didn't get a chance to talk about the fact that you can file for Social Security as early as 62, and then we use the phrase full retirement, which is between 66 and 67. But your benefit actually keeps on going up to age 70. It goes up 8% a year for the years after full retirement. So if your full retirement is 67, it could go up 3 more years, 8% a year. That's 24% up to age 70. So people should realize that if you can afford to wait, it's like a great investment waiting that long. And also, it's only the retirement benefit that keeps on going up, not a survivor's benefit. So if you have a choice, some people might want to file for survivors first and then switch to theirs at 70.
Daryl, that's great advice. When I look at bank rate right now, under 1% or something like that, I can get that kind of return on it if I sit around and wait a couple more years, if you don't need to take it, if you don't have to have it. I want to thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing that information. You know, I'd love to have you back. Would you come back and be with me again?
I'd love to, Bill.
You've given me some really good things to think about, and a couple of friends of mine I want to get in touch with. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Social Security Administration, Daryl Rosenthal, and he gave you some great thoughts, but it only works if you do. So go ahead and have a look at your account, pull it up, build it, check it every year to make sure you get the information. This is Spotlight on Government. I'm Bill Hodges. You're unique, you're special, you're great. Tell yourself so often, because you are, you know, and we'll see you on the next Spotlight on Government. Again, Daryl, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you.